Hallelujah, hallelujah. Speaking in the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Amen.
When we started service, I wondered where everybody was. Then immediately I remembered a joke. A Jamaican man who got his first cell phone. And one Sunday he left for church but forgot the phone. And he went back to get his phone. When he looked at his phone, he took off his clothes, and his wife came and said to him, "So why did you take off your clothes?" He said, "I got a message, and it seems as if it comes from the pastor. It says no service." So I wondered if you got message this morning. It would not have been from me. Today, as we begin a new academic year in the life of our children, as September reminds us of a new start, I want us to use for our topic today, life is like a camera. Life is like a camera. So during the summer, a friend of mine sent me a WhatsApp picture message, and immediately it grabbed my attention. And this is what it says. Life is like a camera. Just focus on what is important and capture the good times. Develop from the negatives. And if things don't turn out, just take another shot. So let me repeat that. Life is like a camera. Just focus on what is important and capture the good times. Develop from the negatives, and if things do not turn out, just take another shot. Life is like a camera. It has variety of snapshots, including our experiences, our memories, our celebrations, the difficult times, the times of laughter, the tearful moments, the hopeful times, the stressful times, the times when we feel that we are above board, and the times when we feel that we are drowning. And the truth is, we all have been there, right?
Yeah.
We know those times. We experience those pictures. And the truth is that we will continue to experience many of them. Life is like a camera with many pictures. Living is about responding to life like taking and managing the pictures in our camera. In today's gospel reading, we get two snapshots, two pictures. One is of Jesus in conversation with a Syrophoenician woman who comes in search of healing for her daughter who is demon-possessed. Jesus surprisingly tells her that the children must eat first, because it is unfair to take the children's bread and they toss it to the dogs. She did say, my daughter, but now she's referred to as a dog. To which the woman responds, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs. And Jesus immediately heals her daughter. Then the second picture is Jesus in action with a hearing and speech impaired man. He's brought by his friends. And Jesus takes him aside, put his finger in his ear, spits and touches his tongue, and cries out, be open. His ears are open, and he begins to talk. And somehow Mark is holding these two pictures together, even though they are prone to different interpretations. And there are many interpretations out there. But he wants us to hold these two pictures together. And as I share with you today, I will be mostly referring to the first story of the Syrophoenician woman. The first thing is that we need to focus on what is important. Focus on what is important. What we know of the woman is that she's a Gentile, a persistent mother, driven by an unconditional love for her demon-possessed daughter. Her daughter is suffering, and she wants her to get better. And that love gave her courage and tenacity, and somehow drove her to cross the boundaries, to get into the presence of someone whom she heard about. Someone who comes for one and comes for all. And someone who makes the difference in people's life. And she was desperate for that difference for her daughter. Have you ever reached that place where you begin to say to God, Lord, I'm desperate. I want a miracle. Lord, I can't take this any longer. I am tired. I need deliverance. I need a breakthrough. I need it today. Or like the psalmist who often cries out, how long, Lord, how long? How long are you going to come to rescue me? Or like the hymn writer who pens this hymn that we will sing later on, you have longed for sweet peace and for faith to increase, and have earnestly, fervently prayed. But you cannot have rest and be perfectly blessed until all on the altar is laid. In those desperate moments, we cry out to God, like this woman coming to Jesus. But somehow, in those desperate moments, we can hear the still small voice. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. The woman went to Jesus. But the man was brought by his friends. So the woman came on behalf of her daughter, who was still at home. But this man who is deaf and dumb was brought by his friends. They brought him to Jesus because they heard and they knew about this man. So here it is that we have two stories. One in which a woman comes crying desperately. And she seems to be begging more and more and more, crying out to Jesus and being insulted at the same time. And here is another story of a man who is brought by his friends, and his friends simply ask Jesus to touch him. and Jesus touched him. What does that say to you? The woman sought healing for her daughter. Life has its demons, but also its angels, its darkness and its light, its pains and its healings, its cures, its curses and its blessings. The man's friend brought him to Jesus. They knew something about this man, probably that he didn't know. And they took him to someone who could make the difference in his life. What is important is that the woman took her daughter, she brought forth to Jesus her sick daughter. The friends brought their friend. That is what is most important. They went to someone whom they had faith and confidence in. My question to you this morning is, what is important to you? Is it the children's education? Is it having a stable family? Is it being stable financially? Is it your spiritual life that is important? Probably sometimes on your spiritual journey you find yourself wavering from high to low. Or you're at that place where you know you are not comfortable with your spiritual life. You may be on the periphery. And somehow you are telling yourself there needs to be a change. What is it that is important to you today? Is it the healing of the mess in your own life? Or the conversion of your life or the life of a loved one? What is important? This story calls us to focus on what is important. What is important for this woman is the healing of her suffering daughter. What is important for the friends is that their friend can speak and hear. We are called to focus on what is important. And then I may ask the question, what is important to us as a church? Is it the spiritual vibrancy of all of us as a whole? Or how serious we all take evangelism, mission and ministry? How serious we take the place of the church and we look about the well-being of the church? Is it important enough to say that this is our church? And by the help of God, we are going to make it vibrant, meaningful, strategic, and a force to be reckoned with. What is important to us? And I may ask our children as they return to school this week, what is important to you? Is it your friends that probably will lead you astray? Is it the latest fashions? The latest gadgets? Or is it an education that will set you on a path to a promising future? Your calling is to be students at this time, and you should make use of every opportunity to be edified and rounded and qualified. Think about what is important to you. The second thing is that we should develop from the negatives. And you understand, when you take a picture, in order to get that picture on paper, you have to develop what is called the negatives. This story, at first glance, paints Jesus as ethnically and ethically insensitive. Why? Here is a woman who comes to Jesus asking for help. She says, I would love for you to heal my daughter. I'm begging you. And Jesus' response is this: the children must eat first. Because it is not fair to take the children's bread and give it to dogs. And at first glance, it seems as if Jesus is insensitive and insulting. Two things here matters. They matter. First of all is the fact that the woman is Gentile and Jesus is Jew. So he's crossing what is called an ethnic boundary, or she's crossing that boundary. Because Gentiles are not supposed to mingle with Jews. And then there is the ethics in it that once you mingle, then the Jews become unclean. There are three interpretations that are given for this passage. The first is that Jesus was fully human, even though he was fully God. And the human side of him was coming through. And that is why he was very insulting to the woman. He was human. And I failed to accept that story. That school of thought. Then the second school of thought is that Jesus was carrying out the mission of God where the Jews, salvation comes to the Jews first and then to the Gentiles. But somehow I'm still not satisfied with that school of thought. Because it makes Jesus very partial, and Jesus is not. But there is a third school of thought that somehow Jesus appears to insult the woman because he was simply speaking the mind of the Jews. So it was not necessarily his intention to insult the woman. He was simply saying what the Jews would say. And you know, once he said it, the Jews who were there just raised their chests and say, yes. But later on, you're going to realize that Jesus just pulled the carpet from underneath their feet. Because his intention is not really to insult the woman. His intention is to test her, but also to teach them. And here comes the test. Here comes the test. Because somehow this is a test of the woman's own perseverance and persistence. A test of her own faith. Because the truth is there are times when we can do so much and no more. We can depend on our ability so far and no more. And we have to now turn to Jesus, turn to God for the rest. But here it is that the woman was persistent in her prayer, persistent in her hoping, persistent in her begging, persistent in her believing. She came for a miracle. And she was insisting that she was not going home until she gets that miracle. She got that miracle. Here it is that we are called, as we develop from the negatives, not to give up on life. Not to give up on life. The woman swallowed her pride. Why? Because she wants something for her suffering daughter. Actually, the woman said, but the dogs eat the crumbs, the children's crumbs. Somehow she was saying, you don't have to give me a meal, Jesus, just give me the crumbs. Why? Because the crumbs from Jesus' table is good enough. You remember the woman who, with the issue of blood, when she came, she had no intention for Jesus to see her or to touch her or to speak to her. She had no intention to touch him. All she said was, I want to touch the hem of his garment. Little is much. So the crumbs is enough. And the woman actually became an example of a real dog. And I want you to listen to this. There are some dogs that are vicious. You know, when I was growing up in Jamaica, they used to say a dog is a man's best friend. I don't know if you've ever heard that. There are some dogs that are vicious, but there are some dogs that are very humble. There are some dogs that are very protective. There are some dogs that are very tenacious, and this is what the woman was. Humble, protective of her daughter, and tenacious. She was not going to give up until she gets what she comes for. So she says, give me the crumbs. A little grace in God's economy is a lot of grace. Amen. And sometimes in life, we seem to want too much, that we can't even appreciate the little that's around us. Grace here and mercy, they are like a little baking soda in flour, or yeast put in bread. You put it in a little dough, and when you bake it, it becomes like this. That's what grace is. A little grace can create great results. So somehow, the third thing that the WhatsApp message actually says is, when you try to develop those negatives, because the woman is beating against the negative, she's trying to get her way through the negative situations. Yes, I'm a Gentile, I should not be here. I'm a woman, I should not be here. I should not be talking to you. But I come for something. He says, when you fail at developing, he says, take another shot. Take another shot. That's what the camera is there for. I like to watch the young people take what they call selfies. And they take one and say, oh no, this one not nice. And they take another one and say, oh, a little better. Take it, oh nice. Take another shot. And that's what the woman was doing. So whatever Jesus said, she had an answer for him. Give me the crumbs. Jesus has every intention of healing her. He had no intention of insulting her, healing her daughter. He had every intention of healing her daughter. But what do we see here? That Jesus was bringing to light the racism of the day. He wants them to understand that racism is ugly. When you think you're better than somebody else, it demeans other people. It's ugly. God comes for one and he comes for all, and he touches one and he touches all. And I'm going to end because it's hot. Next feature. Let's go back. You know, there are times when I listen to the young people and they have a way to say, and I cringe at it because I don't know if it is a nice thing to say. They would say life sucks, you know? And I cringe at it. I don't know if sucks is a nice word. I cringe at it. But life sometimes, yes, you may feel that way. But you must still believe in hope. You must still believe, hope, and continue. You must never give up. Hebrews remind us, let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess. For he who promised is faithful. And we need to remember that he who promised is faithful. Don't lose hope. You never know what tomorrow may bring. So never lose hope. Hope isn't hard to find. You just have to remember to look up and look in. Look up to God. I look to the hills from whence cometh my help. So basically there are three things I've said today. The main topic is life is like a camera. many pictures, many experiences. First thing is to focus on what is important. Develop from the negatives. Don't let the negatives put you down. And when that doesn't work, take another shot. Never give up. God is on your side. Your healing will come. Your deliverance is near. And I love this picture, so I want to end with it. He says, today, and probably forever, I will pray more, worry less. I will laugh more, stress less. I will walk more and hurry less. And I add something to it. Trust God more. He knows what is best. Amen.